What's up, guys? It's Patricia from tarantulaheaven.com. We have Miss Spidey over here. She is coming out of her little glass dome and maybe interacting with her ball or not. This is really fun. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna try to stay on track. Okay, so if you're new here, meet Spidey. She's a Chilean rose hair, the most beautiful spider on YouTube. Just kidding. And if you're new, I make videos about tarantulas, my tarantulas, interesting tarantula facts, my own research on tarantulas. So today we're going to be talking about things that you should be looking for in your enclosures to keep your tarantulas safe. So tarantula owners put a lot of effort into their enclosures, you know, for all the bad reputations that we get from like mainstream pet owners. They actually don't have anything to get us on because it is so easy to find cool toys and beds for your cats or dogs, but tarantula owners usually build their tank from scratch and very carefully hand select the things that they put in their tarantulas tanks and how they're designed. Like the things that I see in Facebook groups and on YouTube are works of art, and they should get awards for this kind of stuff because it's a lot. You know, some tarantula owners they custom build their enclosures, they create bioactive enclosures, just the most beautiful, complicated work. So it's also important to make sure that if you're putting that much work into your enclosures, that you're not doing anything that might accidentally harm your tarantula, or that you're looking out for things so that you can avoid them and take care of them sooner than later so that they don't ruin your entire enclosure. And I'm speaking from experience. This has certainly happened to me, and I'll share it, where I have just cleaned my tarantula's tank and I missed something, and so the whole tank got ruined. So if you don't catch these things early, they could actually ruin all your hard work, which is really, really sad. So one of the big things is mold or fungus. Occasionally you might see in a tarantula Facebook group a picture of a mushroom in somebody's tank and everyone's kind of like, how did that get there? But yeah, that's one of the things you want to look for. It is really important to get the moisture level in your tanks and paying attention to the ventilation and things like that, because giving your tarantulas not enough ventilation, or perhaps having a atmosphere that is holding too much moisture for your particular tarantula, this can make your tarantula uncomfortable, but it can also create an environment that invites mold or funguses, and they will start growing out of control and thriving in your tarantula's tank. And that is one area you do not want them to thrive. And you know, not all mold and funguses are harmful, but you want to be on the safe side and not take those kind of chances. If the issue is not caught in time, it will spread and it will go throughout your tank. In a lot of cases, myself and other tarantula owners will advocate for like a total tank change just to be on the safe side. And if you just did your tarantula's enclosure in the last month, that's not going to be a decision that you want to make. So you want to be really, really careful, catch this stuff, and also create an environment where this stuff won't really be thriving anyway. Sometimes I see a little bit of mold starting to form, especially I've just refilled Spidey's water dish and occasionally there's a little bit of overflow. This could certainly happen. You can also get like some weird growths if you're leaving things like boluses and like half-eaten prey in the enclosure. So you want to make sure that you're doing your spot cleaning and that you're just making sure that things stay dry and that you're not introducing too much moisture into the tank. And when you do, just making sure you clean up. And considering how hard you work for your enclosure, having mold or like green spots or mushrooms and funguses growing is not a look that you want to have. Another thing you don't want is loose prey, and that's not just because loose prey is a danger to your tarantula if they should start molting. I'm going to share some of my personal experience with loose prey. Loose prey can really mess up your tank. I've had various experience with Spidey about loose prey in the beginning of my tarantula journey. She was first on crickets. Crickets didn't really work out too well for her because she's pretty slow, and so she would kind of try to jump on them and miss a lot because they would be like long gone. But in the beginning of that journey, I had left a cricket in her tank overnight, hoping that she would get it in at least the first 24 hours. And you know, if she hadn't, I was going to take it out. But I think that this cricket must have been pregnant because I thought she ate the cricket. Maybe she didn't because the cricket kind of disappeared. And then I don't know if it was a few weeks or what the time frame was, because this was like in my first year of having her and I've had her for quite a while. So I don't remember the timeline, but wouldn't you know that one day I see tons of baby crickets crawling around in the substrate, and like I had just done her enclosure like a few weeks ago. So I was like so mad. I was so upset that this cricket, which I don't even like crickets, the cricket had laid eggs and given birth, and now I had to do a complete tank change. There was just no getting around it. There were so many babies. It was terrible. And obviously Spidey was really stressed out. Like, tarantulas like to be left alone. To have these little crickets running around in the tank was just not a good thing for her. So yeah, I had to do a complete tank change, which I don't even like doing that much because one, she's usually pretty clean, especially when she's in one of her long fasting periods. But two, you don't have to really change tarantula's tanks too much. A lot of people get away with doing it 6 months to a year. So that I had to do it again, I wasn't too happy about, because I probably could have gone several more months without doing it. And I don't like to change it too often also, because every time I do it, it stresses her out. So I was kind of sad that I had to put her through that tank changing stress once more, just because I left a cricket in there for too long. And I've also seen this happen with worms too. So the worms, so after Spidey proved to me too many times that crickets were not the right food for her because she was just too slow, I switched to worms, and the worms were also terrible for the substrate. They would like burrow, and like the worms stink anyway. I was giving her super worms. They would, well, first of all, she was too slow for the worms sometimes too, where she would just hesitate too much. So then they would like burrow in the substrate, and like Spidey really liked to dig for her worms, but sometimes she would just lose interest, or she would be in a fasting period and the worms would escape. So then I'd have to deal with, you know, what do I dig up this whole tank? Or do I let it stay in there, and like trust that she would eventually find it? Because sometimes she would, like sometimes like an hour later I would come back and she would have found it or dug to get it. So I don't know, Spidey and her feeding has been always touch and go. So it's just complicated. So yeah, the worms were also ruining the substrate, making it all gross. You know, if they die in there, your tank's gonna stink. Your tarantula's tank should never stink as long as you have a healthy spider. So yeah, gross things with having loose prey in the tank. So I highly suggest that you create another system for your tarantula. So before I switch to roaches, which is my current solution, they're not only slow enough for Spidey, but also they don't, as far as what I've experienced, they do not burrow and do any of those other gross things. They also don't smell, which is fantastic. But you can create a feeding system. So before I switched Spidey to roaches, I was still giving her worms because she really liked them, but I would have a separate little tank that I would feed her in. And that would at least separate the worms from the rest of the tank. And she actually had a much easier time getting the worms too. So that was a system that really worked for us for a really long time. So you just want to make sure that your uneaten prey is not running amok in your tank, causing all sorts of gross issues. And also, uneaten prey, if your tarantula is not that hungry, could actually stress them out. So this is all part of keeping your tarantula comfortable in their environment. The other thing that you'll want to look out for is mites. Mites are also something that can happen along with mold and fungus. They are attracted to a warm and moist environment, just like mold and fungus. A lot of times it's harmless, but when these numbers get out of control, then it does cause a problem. And the other thing that you'll want to do is look out for stressful or dangerous decor items. This isn't a common thing that I see, but sometimes we're beginners and we don't know. So we might put something in our tarantula's tank that either might have chemicals on it or might be a physical threat to them, or just make them plain uncomfortable. So it's important to look at your tarantula's body language and pay attention to how they interact with certain items. I always make sure to, before I introduce something to our tank, that I make sure something is clean. I'm also kind of looking at the materials to seeing if something is a really rough surface. Also thinking about like plants are another one of those things. So if you're using natural plants, a lot of people do that successfully, but you want to make sure that these plants haven't been exposed to any like crazy chemicals or might have any parasites or other bugs that are attached to them. If you're having plastic plants, you want to wash them. A fellow subscriber had actually given me a really great pointer about this, so you can always learn more. This glass dome, Spidey really likes it. But there is like, you know, it's like a hexagon shape. So on the top, it could be a little bit pointy. Now she doesn't climb on there too often, but they had a really great point that, you know, if she were to maybe fall on top of it or climb it or something, she might actually get a little hurt. So this is something that I'm definitely going to be taking out in my next, and I'm probably even going to bury it a little bit more. I'm planning on changing her tank soon, but yeah, so we always have to be considerate of our tarantula needs, and you can always improve your enclosures. So I thank that subscriber for pointing that out to me. That was very useful, and you know, sometimes we just don't think about all the things. There's a lot of things to think about during enclosure making, so we're always learning. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're avoiding anything that's super pointy, sharp, or super dangerous. You know, another thing that tarantula owners will do is they'll file down their bottle caps. I've done that too. Spidey has a bottle cap in there right now that is filed down. Because you know, like when you take the top off of a soda bottle or something, those little perforation spots of plastic can be a little bit jagged or sharp. So a lot of people will just file them down. That's what I did. So yeah, you just want to make sure that, you know, however your tarantula is interacting in their tank, that you're making it a comfortable space for them. If there's something that your tarantula doesn't really like interacting with and they're showing signs of stress, then you want to either take that out or kind of move things around a little bit to make it easier. If you see them doing something dangerous, then, you know, think about how you can improve that situation. I certainly hope that was helpful. We can always improve our enclosures, and these are just some things that I think will help you know what to look for in the future, and will also help you make better decisions, or just maybe more considerate decisions when thinking about how to keep your tarantulas' homes clean and tidy and safe. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have any other really great tips or things that I might have left out that tarantula owners should be looking out for, please leave them below. I think we gained so much knowledge in the comments, and you know, I wish that when I was a new tarantula owner that I had the insight or ability to find videos like this, because I think that these are like some of the littler things that when you're first getting into the hobby, you might overlook. So I'd really like to provide this info and any more insights that you guys might have about this topic. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week for Tarantula Tuesday. Bye.